talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, thanks. Good. How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico DeHaan and Paige Clark.
Good morning. Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where Nico and I explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
To help recover our health and get back our rights and our freedoms. I'm Nico DeHaan.
And I'm Paige Clark, and it is a beautiful 79 degrees, and we're feeling fine, 79 and feeling fine, but it's freezing in the studio.
Yeah, it's 55 in here, I think.
Anyways, if you have questions about our show, please contact me, Paige at tfnn.com.
And Nico at tfnn.com, and we're also taking your phone calls at 877-927-6648. So the subject today, we're going to be really talking about wheat. Yeah, we're really talking about wheat. I know my partner in my business, performance training, and the studio there, I have a beautiful gal there that does my physical therapy work.
Right.
And she's always had lots of food intolerances. And she's had several tests for celiac disease and things like that. And now she's going for another test because apparently there's so many darn tests out there. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know this is a huge problem. Wheat isn't everything, and when you're talking about processed foods like we often do, boy, when you're talking about gluten and wheat and things like that and all these secret little ingredients, it's all in the packaged food. So we always say that's the first thing you need to do is eliminate that.
I think you're so right on target there, Nico. And you know, there's a growing list of diseases that are linked to wheat consumption, and you can find great information at GreenMed Info. And today we're going to kind of use a guideline from Sayer G, who's the founder of GreenMed Info, and he's had a book out called The Dark Side of Wheat that I guess is going to be made into a movie here.
I think so.
I think that'll be great for us to learn, and new perspectives on celiac disease and wheat intolerance.
Yeah, let me open with this statement. The globe-spanning presence of wheat and exalted status among secular and sacred institutions alike differentiates this food from all others presently enjoyed by humans. Yet the unparalleled rise of wheat as the very catalyst for the emergence of ancient civilization has not occurred without a great price. He's really talking about the wheat that was the engine of the civilization's expansion as the necessary food, because agriculture really started with the wheat.
Yeah, it got exalted as the staff of life and the body of Christ. So we began to believe that we were led to believe that wheat is this necessary food.
And when you're in the mindset of our ancient ancestors and then you go into agriculture, you're talking about people forming large groups to conquer other people, to get territory, to grow more wheat. And that's kind of how it goes. And of course, wheat was exalted by the Romans. Mm-hmm. You know, Romans wanted their wheat, they wanted their bread, they were hooked on it.
Mm-hmm. They were addicted.
They were addicted to it.
And we saw the fall of the Roman Empire.
Yeah,
how much
it also
had to do
rose the empire, and then it fell it. But it rose it because this is something that you can carry with you and make on the go. Bread was the thing that you could carry with you, and you could move, and this is how you fed your armies. Even though it's not healthy, you just need to be, what they say is when you become a Marine, you're the guy we send out there, and we build you into something that can go out there and do that. And that's what wheat kind of did for the Romans and for all the other, Alexander the Great and the Greeks and everything else like that. So what's going on?
I thought this was a study of celiac disease, which is the extreme form of wheat, issues, may help unlock the mystery of why modern man, who dines daily at the table of wheat, is the sickest animal yet to have arisen on this strange planet of ours. That kind of gave me goosebumps. It's very, very sad. It's as if we are the only animal that chooses to eat foods that are not our natural diet. And I was thinking about this the other day when we had the conversation about how people are misled because sugar is so sweet. How could something so sweet
be so
bad
good,
for
be
us?
bad, yeah.
Same
thing
people
with wheat,
have the
yeah.
same perception with bread. Come on. But we want to share with you that the bread today we're eating is not anywhere near the bread that even these ancient ancestors were.
That is for
It's
sure.
grown differently. It's harvested differently. We're using chemical Roundup at the base of the wheat to make it easier for harvesting, not worrying about what it does to our body. And we just are, the evidence is there that it's damaging our guts.
Yeah.
And whether you manifest as celiac disease, we believe celiac disease may be kind of the tip of the iceberg, but the middle berg and the lower iceberg, the real size, is huge in the amount of people that are suffering poor health as a result of the stress that this
Like
food
you-
puts on your digestion.
Like you said, the wheat of yesterday is not the wheat that we have today because we've enhanced it to grow shorter, to make it easier to assimilate, make it easier to manufacture, put into foods. One of the things, of course, that our ancestors had was no yeast in the beginning. And so the only way you could make bread in the old days was to let it sit out and let it sour and do its natural fermenting process.
Again, using the bugs to help break it down.
Break it down so it takes that anti-nutrients and these lectins that are in these products, takes most of them out there. Not all of them, but it makes it enough that for centuries we were okay on it. You know, we went down in health, but at the same time, we didn't go down as much as we are today, because now it's a different animal completely. We've harvested it, we've sent it into a realm of being easier to process. We made it easier for the farmer. We've made it easier for the people picking it. We've made it easier for many, many different things, but not easier on our health. And our manufacturers today do none of the things that our ancestors did with souring it or letting it ferment.
I don't even trust when I buy sourdough bread that they really did do it. Are they just putting that on the label, or is it
Well,
really
in
done?
San Francisco, I ate some bread,
Yeah.
a little bit here and there, and didn't have any problems whatsoever. And Ellen didn't either.
Well, I'm
So
going
the
to remind you.
And the sour bread that we ate here, Ellen had a problem with. I didn't. So, we tested it out in 2 places just for kicks.
Well, the point is, it's flour and water. And if you remember from first grade when you had those art projects,
sure.
flour and water is how we made that rock-hard paper mache. So we have to understand that when we eat these foods, that's what's going on in our digestive system. We're paper macheing our insides.
We're gluing ourselves together.
Gluten. We're gluing ourselves together. You're exactly right. And I want to, before we go a little farther into this, because this is such an important topic, I think we're going to really focus on this today, is that, for so many people, they again have the thought that celiac disease and these things are just a toss of the genes. But as we know, our genes do not control our destiny. It's our environment that does. It's epigenetic, meaning epi, above the genes. So we're going to take a break here, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk about what's up with wheat.
Yeah, number here is 877-927-6648. Please take time to pick up our new Health Signals newsletter. We'll be right back. Jeanette?
Yeah, meaning one gene disease, which celiac isn't, but
Yeah.
we're focusing on a lot of them.
Yeah, the
from
basic
gene
lesson
side.
from the post-genetic era is that we can't blame our DNA. In other words, we know it's in DNA now, that we can't blame the DNA for causing the disease. Rather, it might be more to do with what we choose to expose our DNA to.
It's epigenetic. It's our environment. It's what we eat, what we think, how we move, how we breathe. These are all the things. You are in control of your health. And when people say, that nutrition and things don't matter and what we do and lifestyle doesn't matter, that is completely wrong. It is everything. It matters everything. So if you looked at, say, the disease, celiac disease, maybe we should change the way we look at things. Maybe if we viewed it not as an unhealthy response to a healthy food, okay, but as a healthy response to an unhealthy food. The classic celiac disease symptoms, like diarrhea, will make more sense.
Yeah.
And diarrhea can be the body's way to reduce the duration or exposure to a toxin. Makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Our body's going to vomit. Our body's going to have diarrhea. It's going to say, hey, let's get this stuff out of here. The body intelligent knows what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the body's way of preventing the absorption and hence the systemic effects of chronic exposure. So I believe we would be better off if, you know, we shifted the focus back to the disease trigger, which is wheat, not the crazy response and thinking something's wrong with the body.
Yeah, and it's really something because a lot of people aren't symptomatic. And one of the statements he's making here is that the people who are symptomatics are actually the lucky ones, because this is a disease that's kind of hidden, and it works slowly over years and years and years. Like we say, you're eating bad stuff for 20, 30 years, then the next 30 years after that are going to be pretty bad. And this is kind of what's happening. So you may not have the symptoms like my partner. You may not even show up in some of these tests that the doctors are doing. So you really have to dig deep, and our advice really is to just eliminate this from your diet completely.
Right. If it's a problematic food, it has some indication that it can be problematic. Why keep doing it? And there's a lot of things. This and sugar, and this is really what we're trying to do. If we can live a great life and enjoy great food by eliminating these offenders, the processed sugars, the grains, which turn to sugars, you would be amazed at how much better you feel when you give up these foods. Sometimes, you know, occasionally if you have some, once you've been away from them for a period of time, you can recover, but your mind will decide that you really don't need these things when you see how much better you feel.
Kind of reminds me of the mindset of our education system is similar to what's happening in our news reporting. It's more like sports reporting. Our teachers pretty much in school systems today, this is kind of the way I see it, is that when you go into class, they have a question. Professor gives you the question, then he gives you the answer, and then you explore how you get to the answer. And that's pretty much how it's done. That's how it's done today, and in math especially, there's only one answer, and there's only one way to get it, even though there may be other ways. In the education system that I was brought up in Canada, the professor would come in with the question, and then he'd say, I'm going to give you 3 days to come up with the answers. And then what happens is the students come back, and we have lots of different answers, but if we have the right answer, we may have lots of different paths to that answer. And it's always in history what happens is the people that are on the fringes, that are not like the rest of the people, are the geniuses. They're the ones who are, for maybe centuries, saying, no, no, this is not the way, this is not the way. And then later on, we find out, yes, this is the way. The geniuses are always on the fringe.
The whole story
the geniuses
about
aren't going down that middle path that the government, the education system, the drug companies, all these people want us to go down. It's better to be on the fringe. I was always on the fringe because I was always out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fringer too.
Yeah, you're a fringer too, and that's why we do this show.
Right.
But you got to realize, folks, that they're leading us down this path of this is the only way. And there is no such thing as the only way. In fact, as we found out through history, the ones that are on the fringes that you say, no, this doesn't sound right, 20 years from now, you're going to say, boy, that person was right.
That's because they don't want critical thinkers. So we practice critical thinking here, and we're encouraging you to practice critical thinking.
Exactly.
So when we talk about getting back to, say, celiac disease as an example, or perhaps the many variations, the size of the iceberg that's under the water, the people that have gluten intolerance and sensitivities that they're not even being diagnosed. They don't even know it. They have excess weight, they have body pains, they have various different diagnoses, you know, but they don't even know they have it. But
we also see this in our pets. You know, the number one disease for cats and dogs right now is urinary tract, kidney diseases, that types of things. And
we're feeding them grain-based food products.
Kidney disease is one of the leading things from wheat. And one of the first symptoms is, and most people don't pay attention to. So if you look at your pets, all these dog foods and cat foods that are dry food, the wheat's in there.
Yeah, yeah. You have to kind of usually go to special pet stores to get, you know, pet foods that are grain free. And most people that do that find their animals have extraordinary health. So again, let's accept this new fringe thinking that the body's innate intelligence, when faced with the consumption of a substance that is inherently toxic, is normal. And this should be the way we do. It's a sign. It's a sign and a symptom that we're having something that's not designed for our body. And you can really kind of study this more with the protein that's called wheat germ agglutinin. And that's the WGA. That's the protein that we believe is causing a lot of the havoc. And it's classified as a lectin. And remember, we've talked about lectins are found in seeds and grains and so forth. These are anti-nutrients. These are troublesome for us. They are irritants to our system.
Slow-acting irritants that are there constantly, year after year, to put you into old age and being sick.
And this is known, as you mentioned just briefly, that it's known to cause kidney pathology such as IgA nephropathy. Nephropathy,
Welcome
which
to
means
my world.
Nephropathy, which means kidney pathology. So there was an article, Do Dietary Lectins Cause Disease? And this allergist, David Freed, points out that wheat germ agglutinin binds to the capillary walls inside the human kidney and creates all kinds of havoc. So maybe when we see over time what is one of the biggest diseases of the elderly is kidney dysfunction. They even say that something like 70 to 80% of people over 60 years old have a urinary tract infection. Could this be one of the causes? I think so.
It says here, too, our dependence on wheat is only matched by its dependence on us. As Europeans have spread across the planet, so has the grain. We have assumed total responsibility for all phases of the wheat life cycle, from fending off its pests to providing its ideal growing conditions to facilitating reproduction and expansions into new territories. We have become so intrinsically interdependent that neither species is sustainable at current populations level without this symbolic relationship. And this is why the guy on that panel I was talking about in the last show was saying this is the only way. You're taking the grains and you take the GMOs together, and that's how we're going to live, because that's the only way we can sustain our population. But it's going to be a sick population.
It's
so
going to be a
maybe
sick population.
A better way to look at it, I think, is the way we're looking at it.
I think so too. Let's take a close look at what's at the end of your forks, and we'll be back to talk
And if you
more.
want to take a closer look, take a look at my newsletter, please.
And welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. I'm Paige Clark, and I'm with Nico DeHaan, and we're talking about what's up with wheat. And, I think a lot of the problem, Nico, is our preconceived notion that wheat and grains are a whole food and a health food. And, it really has very little to do with when you take time to do a rigorous investigation of the facts. And grains have been heralded since the time immemorial as the staff of life, as we talked about earlier, which in fact they are more accurately described as cane, precariously propped up a body starved of the nutrient-dense, low-starch vegetables, fruits, seeds, and meats. And they've, these grains supplanted and replaced the foods that we really grew up on.
Yeah.
And for, like you said, so that populations could expand, and it really is a starvation food. And so I guess what you could say is we've all been starving for ages since agricultural
no doubt about
age.
that. And also it creates our large population, because as hunter and gatherers, you normally have 1 or 2 children. 3, unheard of usually in those type of population. You go to agriculture, now you need farm hands. Your best farm hands are the ones you grow yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
In a sense. So the other thing is, too, we often talk about having good proteins, and we know from our discoveries that the animal proteins really suit us well as far as our stomach makeup and our whole intestinal tract, because of the small intestines being first, and that's what digests that.
Hey, let me, before you get into this, I just dawned on me. So many people will say, I'm really trying to clean up my diet. I'm not eating meat, and I'm doing this. And then you find out they're eating all these grains. Yet, folks, most of the diseases of affluence, or they used to call it consumption in the 1900s, such as diabetes type 2, coronary heart disease. Yes, heart disease is tied to sugars and grains. Cancer, etc., can be linked to the consumption of a grain-based diet, including secondary hidden sources of grain consumption, such as grain-fed fish, poultry, meat, and milk products. What we always teach you all is if the animal products that we eat need to be eating their natural diet, and there is no animal that has a natural diet of grain-based products. Key point there.
Well, yeah. Even if you're talking about the grazing animals, remember, excuse me, the seeds of the plant are only there for a week or two. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if they were eating the plants at that time, they'd be eating the seeds. They'd be eating the seeds whole. They'll come out the back end, would have fertilizer, and the plant would grow. And that's kind of the way it works. Nowhere do you see a cow grinding up the seeds,
or a fish going over to the field to get some grain, right?
Or soy, even.
Right, to get some soybeans.
So it's a big problem. And as I was saying before, the proteins that we digest very easily and are very good for us are the ones based in the animal life. There are proteins that we know in green leafy vegetables that are very good for us, but in seeds, not so much. Right. The modern wheat has been grown in such a way that it produces over 22,000 unique proteins. So not only do you have just one protein that might be a problem, now you have about 22,000 ones that are in wheat, and lots of them are problems. And how do you figure out which one is the problem? And you can never take it out because this process keeps going. We keep changing the wheat. We keep changing it for the worse.
And and all you got to do is sort of follow what's going on here. If this is the food that industry is suggesting that we all eat, there's something wrong with that. It produces effects that are very profitable for these same industries.
Yes.
So we need to wake up and not have our eyes wide shut. We need to wake up and realize these are not foods we were designed to eat. And when we vote with our forks and we stop buying these packaged processed foods, we realize that this is a toxin that we were not designed to eat. The world's health will improve. Healthcare costs will go down, will be better, will look better. And these industries and these television commercials of drugs, you know, for all these different diseases, it's really just one disease. We're not getting the foods we need. We're not, right, you know, adapted to eating these foods. They're poisons and they're creating havoc in our bodies.
And here's kind of why. Nature has kind of engineered in every species a kind of self-defense system against predation, against predators, though not are always obvious, as like a thorn on a rose or horns on a rhino. Plants do not have cell-mediated immunity of higher life forms like ants do or like other species do. It's for this reason that seeds of grass family, which are rice, wheat, spelt, rye, they have exceptionally high levels of defensive glycoproteins known as lectins, which function like invisible thorns. Cooking.
Invisible thorns, that's a great analogy.
Cooking, sprouting, fermentation, and digestions are the traditional ways in which people, for instance, deal with these various anti-nutrients found within this family of plants. However, lectins are by design particularly resistant to degradation, which through a wide range of pH and temperatures. So even when you cook them, you're probably not going to get rid of them. It's the souring, it's the fermentation that gets rid of most of them. Still not all of them, but it makes it so that we can survive on this food.
And
not healthy, but
the
we can
problem
survive.
is that people aren't souring them. They're not soaking them. They're not sprouting them. And although we're sharing this as an information, if you continue to eat these foods, you absolutely really must start learning how to do these things that, you know, a couple hundred years ago, people knew this, but we've gotten into this fast food. We have fast food. We have fast solutions. You know,
our
we buy it in a
educational
box.
system has taken this out of the whole thing, and there's no cooking classes anymore that I know of. I mean, unless you go to chef school, like my professor's daughter did. And there you can learn that stuff.
Well, they may or may not teach it, but you know, if you go to the right kinds of chef schools, I'm sure you can learn. But food preparation is important. Since most people are not going to take the time to prepare these foods, soak them, ferment them, then I think they're best left alone based on what we're continuing to share. It's just you can survive, not just survive, but thrive by eliminating these offending foods.
Yep. The WGA lectin, which is in wheat, is so powerful as an insecticide that biotech firms has used this as a combination of DNA technology to genetically engineer these things as pesticides too.
So did you just hear what he said? What he just said is that the protein that makes up the wheat products is so powerful in keeping pests away that they're spraying it as a pesticide.
Pretty weird. Lectins are also sugar-binding proteins. Through thousands of years of selectively breeding wheat for increasingly large quantities of protein, this concentration of the WGA lectin has increased proportionately. This no doubt has contributed to the wheat's global dominance as the world's favored and monocultures offering additional built-in pesticides. The word lectin comes from the same root as the word select, to choose.
So WGA really is nature's ingenious solution to protecting the wheat plant from the entire gamut of its predators. And that's actually us too.
Yep.
So, it's the wheat seed is protected, and
there's another way you can protect yourself, folks, and pick up some Primal Edge, our daily one-shot wonder. Encourage you to try this product. I think you'll find it, like most of our listeners, is that this is a dynamite product that will help you gain your health back.
So you can express good genes. Remember, it is in the food. It's what you think, how you breathe, how you move. So take some Primal Edge, and we'll see you after the break.
Welcome back to the show, folks. We're talking about the dark side of wheat and what the heck is in wheat. And, we were talking about what's in the seed. And the WGA part of the seed is the most concentrated in the seed of the wheat plant, likely due to the fact that seeds are the babies of these plants, are invested with the entire hope of continuing their species. Protecting the seed against predation is necessarily a first priority.
Yeah, it's also a way to spread the plant. For example, if an animal eats seeds, then it's went in the one side, it's going to come out the other, maybe somewhere down the road,
right.
so the plant proliferates.
That's right.
But let's take a look, folks. We know that our prehistory, this was not part of our diet. Prior to the Ice Age, this was not a food. This was not anything that we ate. And since then, we've seen a continual degradation in our health and our lifespan. We know that particularly animals in confined feeding operations where they're fed pretty much exclusively grain, they probably never see a grain of grass. Their life expectancy is a mere shadow of what it should be. A beautiful, a cow should live to be 20 so years, grazing on grass. And although they have stomachs that are a 4-chamber stomach designed to break down the cellulose and these anti-nutrients in the seeds, they really thrive on the adult grass.
Yes. That's specifically what they're for. And if you ever see those videos on YouTube, and you can Google this, of the cows coming out of the barn in Sweden after the long, hard winter, they let them out. And the cow, the cow is just not gently walking out there. As soon as it touches the grass, it starts jumping around and laying on it and rubbing itself, saying, my God, this is what I've missed. Just imagine that.
Well, thank God they let them out in there. The sad thing is a lot of the cows in this country never see that. And that's,
if you're talking about the factory farms, no doubt about it. They never see it. The chickens, the same thing. So important, folks, to get your food from sources that are feeding them the right way. Go to your local farmer, go to your farmer's market. That's where you need to get your food. Even your health food store may be suspect. If you go in your health food store and see all those boxes and everything like that, that's the stuff you don't want to eat, even in a health food store.
That's right.
Because that's not health food. It's not even food, really.
You're going to feel better, you're going to look better, and your health numbers are going to improve if you just eliminate these. And you'll actually save money. A lot of people say, I can't afford to eat healthy. And as we realize, when you eliminate that center part of your grocery store and the foods that are found there, you find that you're getting foods that fill you up and you feel satisfied. And
you get out of the habit of snacking. You don't snack as much. There's no reason to snack because you're really not hungry.
I think snacking was created by the industries to sell more of those boxed cans.
All these potato chips and stuff that we used to love, I don't even miss them.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, folks. I've even cut down severely the nut stuff that I was eating, even healthy cashews and the ones that are raw and organic. I've even quit those because I found out the next day I have a little trouble with my bowels. So it does affect that. And the cleaner I eat, the better everything comes out of me. So the cleaner it goes in, the cleaner it goes out.
Yeah. These are all anti-nutrients that create inflammation and problems within our digestive system. And if you think of from your mouth to your anus, it's just one internal skin. It's your skin turned inside out. It really is.
And it's not like you can expect that. It's not like looking at your skin and saying, oh, there's a wrinkle here, there's a brown spot here. Inside, you can't see that stuff. There are some instruments that do that, but that's not recommended either most of the time. So, it's a big thing. It says here that each grain of your wheat contains about 1 microgram. In a single-ounce slice of white bread, it contains approximately 500 micrograms
of the wheat germ agglutinin, which is the protein that causes the damage.
And if you're looking at a healthier version of bread, the white bread may actually be the healthier because it doesn't have the wheat germ in it, and the outside is kind of scraped off, and then it's bleached, killing most of the things. So remember back in the 60s when we started eating the whole grain wheat breads that we thought were so better for us. It might have been mind over matter that, because
you've shared that information about rice, meaning instead of brown rice, white rice.
Yeah, white rice?
The Asian culture might have figured out a way to...
Why for thousands of years did they have white rice instead of the brown rice that we all of a sudden said, we've got to eat the brown, not the white, because the white has no nutrients? Well, yeah, the other stuff has the nutrients, but it has all the bad stuff, too.
It may have a lot of the anti-nutrients,
exactly.
And that's what, maybe there was some wisdom there. Folks, I think the thing to do is if you're going to eat these foods, turn back to how they were prepared, the soaking, the sprouting, and the fermenting, and allow... you can actually, if you really do feel that you want to have these foods, you can soak your oats, for example, with a little bit of culture. Like the yogurt.
Yeah, or the apple cider vinegar.
The apple cider vinegar. All of these things. Well, vinegar might give your oats a strange taste.
Yeah, just a tablespoon.
Yeah. But what works great is the leftover from yogurt. The whey that separates the liquid.
No way.
That's all. That's all part of helping to create that fermentation. The probiotics in these foods actually.
Yeah, and this might be a nice little adventure for you if you decide, okay, I'm going to eat these things, so let's now go down that rabbit hole and find out. And it's really not a rabbit hole, it's a hole of discovery where you go in and you find how ancient cooking was done. Plenty of information on the web about this, too. Mm-hmm. You have people out there doing this stuff and finding out that they're getting healthier. I still do believe that it's much easier just to eliminate it because now you're eating simply.
I think one of the best healing diets is simply the diet that says one thing. And people say, diets are so confusing. The diet is don't eat anything that is a GMO and genetically modified. Well, since the majority of the wheat in our industry is that way, it really eliminates it. But if you eliminate grains and GMOs, you give your body a chance to heal. And I promise you, if you give yourself 30 days, you're going to feel like a different person. And you'll be able to connect the dots that these things are creating, inflammation in your body. And for some person, it might be not very subtle. And other people, it can be quite severe.
We have Larry from Cheyenne, Wyoming on the phone. So let's get him on here before we close this segment out. Hi, Larry. How you doing today?
Good show. I just want to make a quick comment. I just... took a walk down memory lane. I wouldn't do it. Don't do it. I contacted maybe 40 people from high school, college, dental training, and it's a train wreck, man. They're all you don't even want... I thought I'd call them and say, I started declining from my broken neck, and then I got it fused, and then I recovered, and it's been forever. They don't even hear you because they all got irritable bowel. They got this, that, the other. You are responsible. The wisdom of health is take care of yourself.
And take responsibility. That is so amazing. It's funny that you said that because I've got my 35-year class reunion this weekend, so it might be interesting. Be interesting. I hope a bunch of my friends are watching our show and learning something. Don't you, Larry?
You know what? I tried to explain to people I could help them. It goes over the top of their head. They don't hear you, and they just go back to not listening to you and talking about their whatever. It's all reversible.
Yeah.
Almost everything. Yeah. So there's your reunion in a nutshell. Sorry.
Hey, thanks, Larry. And
thanks a lot.
The ones we're waiting for are ourselves to get well.
Yeah. Thanks for calling, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. And Larry called in and shared the wisdom of a healthy diet. You know, we want to give you tips on a great movie coming out, Secret Ingredients.
Yeah, this was sent to me by Alan, one of our faithful listeners. So this is a film by Jeffrey Smith and Amy Hart. Secret Ingredients, a film that talks about GMOs and pesticides. It shares stories of families that have healed from chronic diseases by eliminating GMOs and pesticides in their diet.
And it really has to be a family affair, folks. You know, a lot of people, when their families embrace making dietary changes and they say these are just going to be foods we don't have in our household, amazing things can happen. So I think that's a great one. I think you can see this at it's at IngredientMovie.com. Maybe you might want to check that out.
We'll probably play that next time we have time to do it. This was really good. I saw the trailer. I think it's going to be a really good movie. It's kind of like the wheat movie. You need to remove things. But what's interesting about this is that they removed these things from their diet, and now they have clinical analysis by scientists afterwards showing the results.
Yeah,
so not only are these people feeling healthy and they feel good and they look good,
the doctors and scientists are supporting it with evidence and that how dangerous these GMOs are. Speaking of that, remember when I told you about the Beamer technology and that the country of Germany hired a scientist in the field of microcirculation, because Germany has to pay for healthcare, and they realized that microcirculation is the root of it. And you know, if you have inflammation, you don't have good microcirculation. They invented. They spent like $250 million inventing a microscope that allows you to see into the capillary.
You showed us that last week.
Well, I know we saw that, but what I'm trying to say, I know I might have mentioned it, but it's worth me mentioning again, is that this microscope, there's only like one in the world, but now there's going to be, a handful more at big research institutions. But what they're saying is it's not just about microcirculation. This technology is going to show us the obvious in-your-face damage that GMOs are doing to our cells. And it's going to put it, when these get to these research institutions like Harvard and Yale, and all of a sudden it's going to come out that these GMOs are damaging. You know, every time we put out an article, it's like Bruce Springsteen's song, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. When the food, when those for healthy food or trying to put something out there in the web, you get 2 more articles from the powers that be, they, who produce these articles that say, oh, we need GMOs to feed the world. That's bunk. That's bunk. We don't. So we've got to go, and I think this visual evidence is going to be powerful. So I'm excited about that.
Well, it's also leaking down into the population, because I have clients. I have one client who has young children. One is, I think, 17 and one is 9 or 10. And the children now are saying no to certain foods because of the education that their mother, and of course I've trained one of these children too myself, so I've hammered it into him. And he says, no, I'm not going to eat that because that's not, it makes sense to me that it's not that way. So when this stuff does change your children, so, start informing your children. Tell them why you're doing these things. Have them choose their thing, and then say why it may be good or why it may not be good. Get your children involved in this, and this is going to help you in the long run, too, see the wisdom of eliminating certain foods from your diet so you can be healthier.
Exactly, and that's what we're about, living longer and living stronger, and our true wealth is our health.
It certainly is.
And I think that, as we know, so many people end up suffering these degenerative diseases, but they're not connecting the dots that it's what they did for a lifetime. And foods, just because the food industry tells you that it's a healthy solution, or whole wheat, or whole this, or whole that, nonsense. Take a look at what we were designed to eat. Let's get back to real food.
And take a look at people that are maybe sick or diabetic and see what they're eating. And that'll give you a good clue.
That's really true.
Yep.
Well, the show went by fast today. We hope you stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Larry, for calling. And we always appreciate people calling in, so thanks a lot. We'll see you next time, folks.
Have a great day.
You're watching Tiger TV.